Yes, I love this land. It takes my breath away.
Hey there, welcome to Texas10.com. I'm Steve.
And I'm M'lissa.
And we're here to talk about Texas and the things that makes Texas great.
You know, one of the things, Steve, that makes Texas great are our universities and colleges. And yes, we have these great institutions where you learn so much. However, what's really great about the universities are their college traditions.
Well, college kids are funny. I mean, I'll just put it out there. College kids are funny, and in Texas, college kids have come up with some great ways to express themselves.
Yeah, we both went to Baylor, Sikkim Bears. We are Baylor Bears. And I'm not going to lie, when Kelsey, our oldest, started looking for a college, she said she was going to leave the state. And I was a little sad. And so we took some trips. But in the end, she realized, you know, God spoke to her and she ended up at Baylor University, and we could not have been more excited.
Right. So at Baylor, they have a tradition called the line. We're just going to talk about it a little bit. And we go to a lot of Baylor games. We were at Kelsey's first game. They were playing TCU.
Well, it was her very first game, like Steve said. And, you know, we were excited that she went to Baylor. And when we went to school, only the guys were allowed to be in the Baylor line. And at the beginning of every game, they run out on the field and they kind of make a tunnel and the football player runs through, and then they all sit together and they had Baylor line jerseys, and it was a really big deal. Well, Baylor realized that it should not just be men, and they let women in the Baylor line. Good on you,
Baylor.
Yes. And so Kelsey was in the Baylor line. And I'm a little, it's a little embarrassing to admit, but we're in the stands and we're so excited. We've got our bear paw up, and Kelsey runs the line. And when I tell you we both started crying, we both started crying, and I'm crying now because it was so cool to have your kid at the university that you loved so much sharing in the same traditions.
And so that is what the traditions are about. You hear about tribalism so much nowadays, and you can be proud of your tribe.
Right.
And I think the allegiances to universities give us a way to express that's maybe not quite as destructive as some of the other tribalism we see, although it can get pretty heated. But I just love the idea because, again, it's a bigger community, but it shows a great sense of community. So, and you see it all the time. In Texas, one of the things we have are the hand signals, right? So everybody...
Gig 'em Aggies.
Gig 'em Aggies.
Get your guns up. Hook 'em horns.
Right.
That's the
Cougars.
The Cougars,
right.
Yeah.
That's U.H. Cougars. And then you've got, let me see. So these are close together.
These are the ponies at SMU.
That's the Peruna.
It's not Little Bunny Foo-Foo.
Right. And then
the Horned Frogs.
Right. Okay. That's the TCU Horned Frogs. And then you've got, it's sort of like this. I have a hard time doing it, but it's the UNT. They're the Eagles, and so it's Talons. It's Eagle Talons, which is pretty cool when you think about it. And then
the Lumberjacks.
The Lumberjacks out at Steve and F. And I mean, we may have missed a few, but
the best. You missed the best.
Oh, excuse me.
Sikkim Bears. We do it high and proud, and when we do a Sikkim, we go, "Hey, Sikkim Bears," and you slash it down.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, that's the way we communicate a little bit in Texas. And we're going to go into some of them. We obviously can't get to all of them, but let's talk a little bit more before people get sick of it about our Baylor traditions.
A couple other fun Baylor traditions is there's Welcome Week, and Baylor is a family affair for the Howens. When I went to Baylor, everyone talked about being a second and third generation. My aunt went to Baylor, so here's her slime cap from 59 when she was a freshman. Here's Steve's from 83. I'm really sad and I'm still a little bitter. I was in the Baylor University Golden Wave Band, otherwise known as the Bug Web, and they ran out of slime caps, and I did not get one. But you wore it.
And the tradition used to be you had to wear your slime cap until homecoming.
Right.
And Baylor is proud of the fact that it has the largest homecoming of any school in the United States. It's got a great parade, a whole weekend of activities built around it. And so you wore your slime cap till then.
There's another really fun tradition that all the guys loved. All the women lived in just 2 dorms. And when we were at Baylor, they had the panty raids.
Yes, but you couldn't actually go into a women's dorm when we were there. Oh, no. So what would happen is the guys would run from one dorm to another. They would sing to the young ladies.
Us.
And as a thank you for the singing, panties would come floating down with
our phone numbers on them.
phone numbers on them, right? And so me too'd that. We don't do that anymore.
No, that doesn't happen at Baylor anymore.
And the other one that has sort of gone the way of we don't have it anymore is barricades.
Yes. Texas A&M is just down Highway 6. And really before we were there, but I don't know, it still happens. Right. When A&M was an all-male university, there weren't a lot of female prospects. So they would all come to Waco to date the Baylor girls.
Try to date.
Made the Baylor guys a little angry.
Mm-hmm. So we actually built barricades around the campus, spelled bear instead of B-E-A-R, and it was serious for a long time to keep the A&M men away from, because they were desperate men. I mean, let's face it, they were all by themselves out there in College Station. Now Texas A&M is a huge university with lots of attractive women, so we don't really have to worry about the barricades so much.
But so those are some great Baylor traditions.
Well, let's head down Highway 6.
Let's go to A&M.
Right. Okay. So first of all, A&M has an encyclopedia of traditions.
Everything's a tradition. Where you walk, how you talk.
It's hard to keep track. And they're great traditions, but it's hard to keep track of them. Yeah. And so the one that I'm going to start with is the most recognizable. When you get this from an Aggie, on the outside, there's going to be a big honking ring if they're an ex-student of Texas A&M.
Or a senior.
Right. And so those Aggie rings are very important. They do the ring dunk.
Right. In fact, many Aggies wear their Aggie ring on their left hand, and they get a special wedding ring made that fits underneath it. I know my brother-in-law did. Right. He loved his ring.
Mm-hmm. And so they're very proud of it. They stand for the whole game.
Yes, they do. And when I was a young girl, my sister went to A&M, and I can remember getting to go to the games. My brother-in-law was an Aggie yell leader. And whenever they scored a touchdown, or whenever they scored, the guys kissed the girls. And I can remember
I think that tradition started after they actually became a co-ed institution.
Right. And so they'd run up, and the yell leaders would run up and kiss their girlfriends, and he'd always give me a little kiss too. And I just thought that was so cool.
Right. But maybe the most recognizable Aggie tradition comes from now forming at the north end of Kyle Field.
I can still hear them.
We're talking about the Aggie band, and they are a unique halftime show.
I'm telling you, we don't like to always admit it, especially I was a band kid, but it is an impressive halftime. We've had friends who've been on the boot, to be on the boot line at the beginning. They have the trumpets, the drum majors. It's really, really impressive.
Now, the Aggies sometimes get a little carried away, and it falls maybe to the smartest kids in Texas at Rice University to point that out. The Rice University band is probably the exact opposite of the Texas Aggie fighting band.
The Rice band is called the Mob, and anyone can be in it. You can play a kazoo, you can play a violin, you can play the drums, the saxophone. All are welcome.
And there's a famous incident. It's called the Halftime of Infamy. The Mob isn't just for anybody musically. They like to poke fun at the other school. Baylor suffered at their expense greatly. But Reveille, the dog, is one of Texas A&M's, it's their mascot, one of their great traditions. And at a game being played at Rice Field in Houston, the Mob asked where the little dog had gone and formed a fire hydrant. And the Aggies were really incensed by that. And after the game, they were after the Mob.
In fact, they had to get the police, state troopers to protect the Mob in the tunnels from the Aggie Corps before the Mob could get to
They actually brought in big trucks and loaded the Mob in to get them out past the Aggies. So it gets a little bit crazy.
If you can see a Rice halftime, it's well worth it. Right. But we need to hurry because there's some more traditions.
Well,
talk about Rice
Well, so at Rice, one of
In
my
the streak.
favorites is called Baker 13. And on anytime there's a Friday the 13th, the kids at Baker College of Rice will put sneakers on. They'll put shaving cream a little bit on, and then they'll go out and run. And that's all they got on. They went so far in the 2002 Olympics, where at Salt Lake City, the torch run came through Houston, and some enthusiastic Baker 13ers actually participated right in front of the Olympic torch.
Okay, that's not the only college that likes to run naked.
At Trinity, you've got your Calvert Ghosts, where they get a little bit more dressed up. They douse themselves in flour and run around in October as ghosts out of Calvert Hall.
Okay, let's go up to Austin because we cannot forget the great traditions of the University of Texas.
Okay, so I have my problems with the University of Texas, but I'm willing to admit a couple of things. They have the most recognizable mascot out of any mascot, Bevo. And so there was a lot of discussion about Bevo, where the name came from. And the Aggies like to claim that they snuck in, stamped Bevo with the 13-0 score from the last Aggie victory in 1915, and that forced the Longhorns to turn it into Bevo. But the Texas X's tell a different story, and they actually did some true historical research to prove that's not what happened. But this is the interesting thing about their story, is they describe everything that happened, and they say that they had Bevo, he was already named. The Aggies did, in fact, stamp him later. They did put Bevo on it, but it wasn't to hide it. He was already named Bevo. But they're a couple years later, they're proud to say that at the football banquet, they ate Bevo.
I cannot imagine eating my mascot.
That's very odd to me. But then you've got also probably the most recognizable hand signal, the hook'em horns, which actually came before a TCU game when the head yell leader at A&M and his buddies were playing shadow puppets, and they noticed that looks like a longhorn. And
so that's how they came up with it.
They lost that game, but they kept the hand sign. And then finally, there's the show band of the Southwest.
And it's another remarkable band. Again, I was a bug wubber, and I love the Baylor University Golden Wave Band and our Golden Girls, but the University of Texas also has a phenomenal band.
And it's headlined by
Big Bertha.
Right.
It's
the
a
biggest
huge
drum in the world, supposedly, and it makes a lot of racket.
Huge.
Right.
And it was fun. My freshman year when I was in the band, getting to travel to some of those stadiums and getting to be in halftime at those stadiums was really great.
Well, let's real quick go up to Texas Tech.
Yep. Because you've got get your guns up, and they take their football very seriously as well. And I think, anyone who's gone, of course, first of all, when you go at the beginning of the game, this Raider comes flying through on the masked rider on a horse.
Matador.
And it's very cool.
And so Bevo may be the most well-known. I'm going to say the masked rider on Matador flying around the field is about the coolest thing in terms of mascots.
It's very cool.
It definitely tops SMU's Shetland pony Peruna. And then if they're doing well, you get the tortilla toss.
Right. And I think the legend has it there. It was a game that they lost?
No, they were winning. I think they were excited the week before, and they took the plastic off the lids of their
Remember
cups.
the big cups with the big lids, and they were throwing them?
The administration didn't like that, so they started selling them without the plastic, and then they ended up with the tortillas.
So, you know what? The thing is...
Wait.
Oh, what?
One more. It's not really even an athletic tradition. But one of my favorites is at Sul Ross University in Alpine. If you're ever at Alpine, go to Sul Ross and learn the legend of the desk. And you can go to texas10.com and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it is just a crazy story, and the legend of the desk is just sort of quintessential college.
And you need to go and find the desk.
Right.
That's what I'll say.
Right.
So we're a little over time, but it's worth it. There are so many great stories about Texas universities. And you know what? Kids are very ingenious. They can come up with great ideas, great traditions, and it's what keeps the fun in our colleges. And so we hope you keep joining us here at Texas 10.
All right. And so you can, if we've missed one, go to texas10.com. Let us know.
See ya.
Bye.
And sick 'em bears.
Oh, sick 'em, yes.
About you, and I love this land. Oh, it takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain, from the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade, I love this land. It takes my breath away.